Go ahead. Well, guys, whatever you're ready.
Is everyone? Yep.
So, Klaus and Elijah have new reasons to be mad with each other right now. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, he's done something utterly unforgivable, as we've found out, and so it's created this rift between them again, but perhaps bigger than ever. And so Klaus is, I would say, looking for new allies. He's searching around to see who he can trust, and as we know, there's someone from his past who an intimate from his past who he feels now perhaps bonded with. This betrayal has kind of bonded them as well, because they were both led to believe a lie 1,000 years ago. So yeah.
Now that Aurora is back in the picture, how is this going to affect Klaus's friendship with Cammy?
It'll be interesting to see that play out. I mean, it definitely does affect it, and both characters become aware of each other, although not quite yet, I think. But, I would say initially it's going to hinder it because, as we know, there is some kind of, certainly a possessiveness over Cammy and a feeling of wanting to protect her, whatever else you can say about his relationship with her. So having a possessive ex-girlfriend come into town is going to make things difficult. Like, you're spending all this time alone with who and for what purpose? So definitely it's going to put strain on that relationship.
So you mentioned Klaus being protective of Cammy. What can you tell us about what happens when he discovers she's been arrested by Detective Kinney?
Oh, he's going to want to deal with that. I mean, anything where she sort of... I think he feels like she's consistently getting herself in too deep, and it's a struggle for him because he wants to keep her around, but, he's like a hurricane, so anything kind of around him or in his path it gets thrown up in the air and gets into all sorts of trouble. So by wanting her to be close to him, he's also putting her in danger. So yeah, if he was truly selfless, he would let her go, but he won't. He's possessive.
So Klaus is kind of like this master of being able to push people away. Do you feel like he kind of fears that when Hope gets older, he'll kind of have that same effect on her and
Definitely.
she'll end up...
Definitely, he fears that. And I think, in fact, that was something which Elijah threatened him with, if you don't stop the course you're on, nobody will have to take Hope from you, she'll leave herself. And that really hit home with him, because she's the thing that he loves most in the world, I believe, aside from any potential love interests, or way beyond any potential love interests, past and present, she's probably the only pure thing in his life. He's had he's had feelings for other characters, other people, and then his siblings as well. But all of those are tainted with something, or are driven by something that isn't quite pure. And she is the one good thing, and she's not yet old enough to be judgmental of him. And I think that means a lot. So yeah, sooner or later though, she's gonna recognise he's not perfect, I guess. That'll be a sad day for Klaus.
So we saw in this last episode that with Aurora, that kind of brings out a more vulnerable side of Klaus. Are we going to see any more of that now that she's back? Sort of more of an exploration of that kind of vulnerability or...
Well, here's my take on it. In the vulnerable side that we saw, especially, was mostly in the past, I think, right? When he was also younger and less kind of experienced in killing and less jaded by betrayal and all of that stuff. So my hope is that she will bring out that side in him because she's connected to that. You know how when your parents chide you, you go back to being a little kid, So I hope the same thing will be the case with Aurora, that he will revert back to that innocence. But I don't know, she doesn't seem as innocent in present day as she was back then, so we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. I wouldn't hold out too much hope. I mean, maybe, you know, at least at first. I think he does truly want to explore that side of himself and that relationship that they both lost. And I think there's an emotional exploration to be done there, which he may allow himself to feel quite vulnerable in doing. But he also has his strategic head on, and he's thinking, hey, wait a minute, what does this person have to gain from all of this? Why is she back after so long, you know? Because she was compelled, right? But she realized the betrayal a long time ago. Where's she been? You know, there's still a good 800 years where she could have come back, I guess. So yeah, he's very much trying to also keep a bit of distance and be objective about it, figure out what's going on with her.
How much is the threat from family, friend, foe going to drive Klaus's actions going forward over the next few episodes?
I think he takes the prophecy very seriously. You know, they've both seen it now, and it's the fall of the Mikaelsons. And she specifically looked and said, "I saw him die. You know, I saw your sire die." She said, "Lucian." She looked at Klaus, and we're all clear. Okay, so according to the future as written, then Klaus is going to die. But so yeah, I think it will. You know, more than ever, he's on guard and he's looking for who's going to betray him. But then that's where he lives. That's his wheelhouse, isn't it? He's kind of comfortable looking over his shoulder, I think. So he will be driven by it, but he's prepared for it as well.
This show has such a rabid fan base. We were just talking about social media. It's had a very big fan base. Is there something about that going into this that you never would have expected about how important people see the show that watch the show?
I mean, going into it in the beginning, yeah, of course, I had no idea, you know. Even like getting cast in the role of Klaus, I had no idea there was all this speculation before I got the part. So yeah, all of it though, you know, and the fact that people continue to care, yeah, it's amazing. And you can kind of sometimes be in a bubble here because we shoot, you know, here in Atlanta and in New Orleans as well a little. So we're sort of away from it all and we're just in this little world. And then you step outside to do press or to do an event, or, you know, on social media is where you see it a little bit, and you realize, wow, people really are invested and passionately invested as well. I mean, there's a struggle, but I'm of the mind that, you know, if people are talking in any way about the show, then that's a good thing. And so, you know, my goal and the writer's goals is not to make everybody happy, to placate everybody. It's to create this drama that people can then kind of argue about and become passionate about. And, you know, I'm really happy that people are still watching, and we made it to season 3. It seems to have kind of gone by. We're just working all the time. That's just like, it seems to have gone by so quick.
Well, especially since, I mean, you've been playing this character for 6 years now? So one of the questions that I had, because social media, they're, you know, crazy, the questions, but, and I won't ask half of them. But the question came up, you know, what's it been like to go from coming into this series, into this world as the big bad, and now you're this sort of somewhat vulnerable leading character who fans want to root for. They want to see Klaus Mikaelson succeed, when originally what they wanted was for him to go away.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's interesting because I still get messages on social media like, hey, I hated you when you first came. And now I'm just desperate for you to, you know, succeed. I think it's a tribute to the writing and to the character arc we've developed, you know, the writers and I. And I know, I think we sort of started to win them over when Michael came to town, and there was a villain that was more, perhaps more hated than Klaus, and we saw that the oppression that Klaus had suffered and the vulnerability that he felt at the hands of his father. I don't know, I still like to think that, I feel like we're sort of building all these layers as opposed to him transitioning from one thing to another. So he's still the person that he was when he came to you know, would he kill Aunt Jenna again? Probably. I mean, it's not like, oh, this guy would never do that. Yeah, no, he would probably still do that, and you know, and try and kill Elena, and all of the terrible things he did. Tyler's mum, whatever. So, like, in a heartbeat. So yeah, I really feel privileged to have been able to play out an arc over this amount of time, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do television in the first place, was for the opportunity to play something out over such a long amount of time, because really I'd only done features before that, or British TV, which is about 6 episodes, you know, so it's you play something out over a much shorter amount of time. So it's been very rewarding and surprising to see some of the turns he takes, but nothing has been too surprising. There's nothing where I felt like he definitely wouldn't do that, you know. And that's good. So it's all keeping within the realms, and we always, you know, the most important thing as an actor is to feel motivated, to feel like your character has reason to do what he does, and it fits into your idea of who that character is, and I think it does do that. So yeah.
What can you tell us about the upcoming Thanksgiving dinner scene with Elijah, Klaus, and the Trinity? How's that going to go?
That was a lot of fun to shoot. We had a terrific director for that called Bethany Rooney, who's really very experienced. So some of those scenes with multiple characters can take forever to shoot because everybody's POVs and all of that stuff. But it was a lot of fun, and I love all the 3 new actors we have. So it was exciting for us all to be in the same room finally. And of course, there's drama. You know, it's not just, you know, us all holding hands and saying, "Well, I'm thankful for the fact that Elijah betrayed me and no longer have," you know. There's a lot of drama, and you know, we go into it with a plan, and I'm sure they do as well. And not everybody can get what they want, so it makes for an interesting episode.
So speaking of a lot of characters being together, are there any updates on potential crossover episodes in the works, or have you heard anything, any tidbits you could tease?
No, I can't tease anything. It's not worth my job to tease anything. But you know, there's always whispers, so we'll see.
Do we have any more interactions between Klaus and Hayley expected in the near future?
Yeah, I just did the scene with her, so yeah. Yeah, there's stuff, you know, they still, they're at odds a lot through the series, which is always interesting to play, I think. I always feel that, though. In general, with characters, we do a scene together where we're kind of planning or conspiring, and I often think, you know, I can't wait to do a sort of real argumentative scene with you, get into that, you know. Which is what I felt with Aurora after doing the episode that just aired. Like, oh, I can't wait to do a scene where we're like butting heads, you know. But yeah, there's definitely more interaction with Hayley, and not all negative, you know. She sometimes has a way of cutting through all of Klaus's bullshit and telling him how it is, you know, and she does do that, you know, in an upcoming episode. You'll probably have to wait a while to see that then. I think it's a while down the line.
Can you preview a little bit about who Klaus is going to turn to now in the next few episodes, you know, for allies?
Well, I mean, like I said, he's investigating the possibility of Aurora being an ally. So next episode, he's really kind of sussing that out. You know, he doesn't trust Lucian, although we know he likes him. Doesn't care for Tristan at all. So I think really, though, the next episode at least is going to be him exploring the dynamic with Aurora after all this time.
So he's not suspicious that at all of her
Oh yeah, he's
breaking
suspicious.
of...
That's why he's sussing
Okay.
it out, you know. Yeah, he's definitely suspicious, but there's also feelings there, very unresolved feelings, you know, as we know. So he feels like this is something he needs at least closure on, or perhaps it's the beginning of something, you know, and I think that will be what he is aiming to discover over the next episode.
Now that the Stricks are back in town, how is this going to shift, like, all the power dynamics in New Orleans?
Well, you know, I'd like to think the Mikaelsons are still at the top of the food chain, but the Stricks will have a go. You know, they have a, I don't know if it's quite an army, but they have certainly a group, and there's some strength in numbers. But I don't think that's gonna sway the power balance too much. It depends what they have up their sleeve. You know, they're calculating, Tristan and I are. So yeah, we'll see. We'll have to see what they have in store.
Will that bring Klaus and Marcel closer together at all?
The
Strix being in town?
Well, as far as I'm aware, he's signed up to be a member of the Strix, right? He passed the initiation and became a member of their number. But I don't know. I don't think so. I think he's wary of Marcel, and we have a little to do with each other. You know, we had that lovely scene in episode 4 where he came assuming that he could have my blood to heal him, you know, and I told him, just be careful, you know, because if they come for me, they'll come through you, perhaps. And so I think Klaus still feels very protective of Marcel, but I think he also wants to keep him at a distance. There's been a lot of betrayal there, and I'm not sure he's ready to welcome Marcel back into the fold.
We have time for 2 more questions.
So now, after the revelation and last week's episode about Aurora and Elijah, where is Klaus at with him right now? Because they kind of buried the hatchet for a little while, and now it's like, this is happening again. And Elijah kind of always seems like he's helping, but he really ends up making it worse.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Are we going to see them, like, really cut it off, or try again?
You know, it's difficult for them to completely cut it off because we have a common enemy in town at the moment, or at least people who are, you know, we have the prophecy, you know, right. the Mikaelsons will fall, and we also have these, the first of our sire lines who've swanned into town. So I think we have to stand united, but I would say begrudgingly united. And it still feels like this is some unresolved turmoil between them. I don't think everything's just gone back to normal. I think that still exists, but has to be sort of put to one side at the moment, sarcastically referred to, perhaps.
So going back real quick just to Hayley and Jackson, in the scene where Hayley takes Hope across the street to the apartment. Do you think Klaus feels any sort of jealousy? I mean, obviously Hope is in danger, Hayley's always in danger, but they sort of have this little happy family unit, and Klaus is sort of outside of that, even though he has Hope. So, do you think he feels jealous of Hayley?
I think he feels jealous of the idea that Hope could be happy without him, and frightened of that she won't need him. So the idea of them having this perfect little family living just across the street is pretty terrifying for him, because there's no room in there for him. And, you know, like I said, she's the most important thing in the world to him, and she is really a personification of the sort of pure love that he feels and has allowed himself to feel for her. So I wouldn't say he's jealous. I think it's more than that. I think he's legitimately frightened that the more this progresses and the older Hope grows, the more she'll realise, hey, like, my dad's a pretty terrible guy, and I've got a good thing going on here, and, you know, Jackson's noble. But yeah, so yeah, definitely there's a lot of insecurities there, which he'll probably act out on.
No way.
That guy!
That's time, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Take a picture.
Joseph, could you pause for a second and we'll take a photo?